everyone, I am Milind Dahirao. I am dual CCI in routing, switching and security, and my CCI number is 23094. Today I am going to explain you about introduction to Cisco ACI and its advantages. ACI stands for Application Centric Infrastructure. So ACI is an SDN, that is a software defined networking solution from Cisco. So what is SDN, guys? So software defined networking is an approach where we abstract the control plane and the management plane out of the device and then we put it on a controller. Any network device would typically has three types of control plane traffic, management plane traffic, and data plane. Any network device would typically has these three types of traffic: control plane traffic, management plane traffic, and the data plane traffic. So what is control plane traffic, guys? So control plane is basically your protocols traffic. At layer 2, it's a spanning tree protocol, and at layer 3, it's a routing protocol like EIGRP, OSP, or BGP. And basis this protocol, it creates a topology or the routing table, and it takes the decision in terms of how to route the packet and how to switch the packets. What is the management plane traffic? So management plane traffic is a traffic which goes to the device, and that is for the management of a device. Like your telnet traffic, SSH traffic, GUI traffic, your SNMP, NTP, that is your management plane traffic. Then what is data plane traffic, guys? So let me quickly open a network diagram to explain you about the data plane traffic. So this is a very simple network diagram. We have two sites, site A and site B, and these two sites are interconnected to each other via the WAN routers. At each of the site, we have a LAN switch, and an endpoint is connected to the LAN switch. So at site A, we have an endpoint 10.1.1.10, and at site B, we have an endpoint 10.1.2.10. So when these two endpoints are communicating with each other, then their traffic will go via the switch A and router A at site A, and it will go via router B and switch B at site B. So the traffic which goes through the device is called as your data plane traffic. So the idea behind the software defined networking is to abstract the control plane and the management plane out of the device, and then we put it on a controller. With the help of an API, that is the application programming interface, then we can centrally manage the network devices. Of course, all these network devices will be registered to this controller. So with the help of an API, then we can centrally manage the network devices and we can put the intelligence on the network. The data plane will be with the boxes. The data plane doesn't come under the controller. So that's the background of a software-defined networking, guys. So Cisco has three different SDN solutions. Let me just quickly clear my whiteboard, and I will explain you about the Cisco SDN solutions as well. So Cisco has three different SDN solutions. The first SDN solution is the data center. For data center, we have the for the for data center we have a ACI solution. Then for the LAN network, we have the SDA solution that is using the DNA center. And for WAN, we have a SD-WAN that is using the Viptela. Or the Meraki devices. We have a three different SDN solutions from Cisco. For data center, we have a ASI. For data center, we have a ACI, and in that we are using the Nexus 9K switches. For LAN, we have a SDA, and in that we are using the Cisco 3800 series and the 9K devices. And for WAN, we are using the ISR, ASR, CSR, and the 8K devices. So these three SDN solutions are from Cisco, and in all the three solutions, the concept remains the same. That is the management of network devices using the controller. The focused area of our discussion is the data center solution, that is the ACI solution, Cisco SDN solution, which is an ACI. And in that, we are using the Nexus 9K switches, and we will not configure these Nexus 9K switches using the CNI. Instead of that, we will have a controller, and the name of the controller is the application policy infrastructure controller. So that's the background or the detail about the ACI solution of Cisco, guys. Advantages of Cisco ACI solution. So the first advantage of Cisco ACI solution is centralized management using the Epic controller. Centralized management, the Epic control. So ACI is the SDN solution from Cisco, and in that we are using the Nexus 9K switches, and we will not configure these Nexus 9K switches using the CLI. And instead of that, we will have a controller, and the name of the controller is the EPIC, that is the Application Policy Infrastructure Controller. That's the first advantage of ACI solution. The second advantage of ACI solution is it's a multi-tenant solution. So what do you mean by the multi-tenant solution, guys? So before we understand the multi-tenant solution, let's understand what do you mean by tenant as a general. So tenant can be a customer or the department or the organization. So tenant can be a customer, department, or the organization as well. And so what do you mean by the tenant? So anyone who is renting out your resource is known as a tenant. So what do you mean by resource in the IT infrastructure world? So resource can be a firewall, maybe a router, or a switch, or maybe MPLS as a service or ACI as a service. So when you give these resources like a MPLS as a service or ACI as a service to the different tenants, like of the different customers or the department or the organization, then it's called as a multi-tenant solution. So how it is? Let me explain that in a more detailed manner. So in a ACI, we can create the multiple customers or the multiple tenants. Say for example, we can create a tenant, say for the American Express Bank. So we created a tenant for AMX Bank, and in that we can create the multiple VRFs. We can create the multiple bridge domains. We can create the multiple subnets. We can create the application profiles, and all these things will be dedicated for AMX as a tenant. Similarly, we can create the another tenant, say for State Bank of India, for which would be a kind of an SBI tenant. And then in that we will have a multiple VRFs, bridge domain, subnet, application profile, policies, which will be dedicated for the SBI tenant. So that's why ACI is a multi-tenant solution, and we can create the multiple tenants in the ACI as a solution. So that's the another advantage of ACI solution, guys. The third advantage of ACI solution is it's a application centric design slash approach. ACI is an application centric design or the approach. So how the ACI is an application centric design or approach. In a typical world, how we create a network is we create a multiple VLANs and then we assign those VLANs to the different departments or to the different application servers. Say for example, VLAN 10 will be allocated for the HR, VLAN 20 will be allocated for finance, VLAN 30 will be allocated for admin, and your application server. Say for example, VLAN 100 will be allocated for your application X, VLAN 110 will be for the application Y, and then VLAN 112, 120 will be allocated for your application Z. And basis this VLANs, we create a policies on a firewall saying that this subnet will talk to that subnet or the application server on a specific port. We create the SVIs on a core switch, and on a layer 2 switches, we create the L2 VLANs. Using the router, we route the traffic, and that's how we create the network from the edges. So let me pull out a network diagram to explain this in a more better manner. So application centric design. Let me explain this network diagram to you first. So this is a core switch, and to that core switch, we have a WAN connectivity via the MPLS routers. We also have an internet connectivity via the internet firewalls. And on the internet firewall, we have a DMZ zone. And on the DMZ zone, the web servers are connected. The application server and database server are connected to the core switches via the multiple access layer switches. So this is the kind of a typical network. Now let's understand that these are the mobile banking application servers, and the once the user connected to web server and once the user is authenticated, then this web server will communicate with app server. The app server will communicate with DB server. Then the DB server will respond back to application server, and application server will respond back to the web server. So there is basically a chain of communication between the web server, app server, and DB server. So this mobile banking application is working fine, but suddenly one of the day user starts complaining saying that the mobile banking application is working slow and a P1 or the P2 ticket will be raised with the network team to identify the issues. So what we will be doing is we will be checking the utilization of this internet link, utilization of the MPLS links, utilization of these network devices. We will at the max, we will find out the IP address of the web server and we'll do the extended ping and the trace logs to the web server and then we will share it with the team saying that it's not a network related issues. But then people will not listen to you, right? And they will start blaming that no, it's a network problem. Here, we don't have the visibility of this application server or the virtual machines, what is happening over these virtual machines or the application servers, because we don't have the visibility below the layer 2 switches, below the access layer switches in terms of on the application server what's happening. So ACI helps us to resolve this kind of an issues. So in ACI, instead of creating the network basis the VLANs and subnet, here we create the network basis the application. So we create an application profile called as the mobile banking application profile, and in that we will include the three different subnets called as the for the web server subnet, the application server subnet, and database server subnet. Also, we will identify the endpoints, the VMs, which are associated for the web application, the application servers, and the database server, so that we will have the end-to-end visibility. So tomorrow, if the mobile banking application is working slow, we will have the visibility of the web server, app server, DB server in terms of how these VMs are functioning, and then we will be able to identify the actual issues which is related to maybe to the application server or maybe to the how the application is working. So that's the another advantage of ACI, that it's an application centric design of the approach. Let me get back to our main landing page. The another advantage of ACI is ACI helps us to eliminate the STP. So how ACI helps us to eliminate the STP, guys? Let me quickly open a network diagram to explain this in a more better manner. So STP issues. So this is a typical data center network design. At the access layer, we use the Cisco 3800 series or the Nexus 5K switches. At the distribution layer, we use the Nexus 9K switches. And at the core layer, we use the Nexus 7K or the 9K switches. We create the SVIs on the core switches. We create the L2 VLANs on the distribution layer switches and at the access layer switches. But the problem is in this entire network, the spanning tree protocol will be running, right? Which will be a problem because one of the link will be in the blocking state. So instead of that, if we go with the ACI approach, then ACI uses the leaf and spine architecture. So ACI eliminates the STP. Let me just manage my network diagrams properly. So if we replace this typical network design with the ACI design, then we uses the leaf and spine switches. So the leaf and spine switches, which is actually the Nexus 9K switches, which we'll be using in the ACI fabric, will be connected to each other via the layer 3 network. So in the underlay, we use the ISIs as a routing protocol, and this leaf and spine connectivity, we will be using the ISIs as a routing protocol in the underlay. And on top of that, we will be using the VXLAN as a tunnel. So as we are using the VXLAN, we can do the layer 2 extension as well. As it's a layer 3 fabric, so ACI eliminates the STP. That's the another advantage of ACI solution, guys. So let me clear my whiteboard. Okay. So advantages of ACI. So that's the advantage of ACI, that it helps us to eliminate the STP. Another advantage of ACI is it's a cloud integrated solution. So ACI is a cloud integrated solution. So nowadays, a lot of companies are diversifying between the on-premise and the cloud so that they can have a 24 by 7 application availability and they can distribute the load, etc. So Cisco ACI also brings in the in-cloud integration. With the help of a Cisco multi-site orchestrator solution, we can actually have the direct peering between the on-premise infrastructure and the cloud infrastructure. So if you have a virtual machines or the applications running on a cloud, then you can integrate it directly with the on-premise ACI solutions and you can discover the endpoints hosted on a cloud right in your ACI fabric inside your dashboard. So ACI is a cloud native solution nowadays and you can integrate the cloud applications with the on-premise ACI solution. So this is the another advantage of ACI that it's a cloud integrated solution. Thank you.